So glad you're here. Let's start.
Well, hello. How are you? It's Virtual Halston. It's episode 4, and I have a new webcam, so I'm a lot clearer. However, now I can't figure out how to use either the webcam mic or my Blue Yeti mic, and we're just going through all sorts of technical things. But welcome. I'm happy you're here. If anyone knows how to turn off my webcam mic, let me know. Anyway, we're very excited. I have a different adult beverage this time. I have a Prosecco. It's very light, sparkling. And I did my nails by myself, do you believe? And we have the glorious Max von Essen with us tonight. We're very, very excited. For those of you who know him, you know what a glorious actor and singer he is. But without further ado, I would like to bring on my partner in all this madness, the incredible, the one and only, Jim Caruso. Where are you, Jim? There you are. Can you even hear me? Can you hear me at all?
I'm literally hysterical sitting here listening to you shrieking about your microphone. I don't know what happened, but if anybody out there does know, please write in, won't you?
Yeah. I've just got reverb and craziness going on. Jim, you have to take over the show.
No, but Julie, here's the thing. You look fantastic. The new camera looks great.
Good. Yeah. Well, you look so elegant, somebody just wrote in.
Oh.
Yeah, I look elegant.
You look elegant, Julie.
I might sound like a Harridan, but I look elegant. Thank you, Tim. Somebody named Tim. Thank you.
Hi, Tim.
Yes. Jim, we're starting like phase 1 reopening or whatever. Have you been doing? What did you do? Have you done?
First of all, I'm so annoyed that we're reopening because I don't feel like it's time to reopen. And different states who are still on the rise are opening and throwing the masks to the wind. To me, that is so annoying. For all the people that have done their job and quarantined and stayed in and worn the stupid masks and all that stuff.
Yes.
I just hate it. Anyway, nobody cares what I think. And I think we all know that.
No, that's not true. That I care very, very deeply.
There's one.
That's why.
I told you a couple of weeks ago I bought clippers because my hair looked so stupid. You never saw it, but it was so long and it was like feathered like Blair in Facts of Life. Do you remember her?
Yes.
It was like huge. So I cut my own hair, which was slightly tragic. But then this last week, I took a trip to the dentist.
Okay, so that was a big moment in the sort of partial reopening. You went to the dentist, and what are they? Teeth cleaning? What?
Well, no. I actually had I had a minor emergency in the back, way in the back, and of course I could have lived with that because who's seeing my teeth in a mask? Nobody knows, but I didn't feel good about myself.
That's right. No. And so you did it. And how did they do it? Did you just go in one at a time, or?
Yes, and I walked in, and they immediately took my temperature with that gun thing, and then they took my blood pressure. So I don't know what that was. Maybe I was looking flushed. I don't know. And then the dentist came in, and he was in a full, like, beekeeper outfit, complete
beekeeper
with gloves and the plastic, the
shield, the guard, and
I mean, how dare you? And I was wearing linen, so he's completely protected. I'm absolutely open to all disgusting germs.
Right.
It was slightly terrifying, but I do feel whole again, dentally speaking.
That's great.
That's good. Yeah, but it was interesting, and also to have somebody that close to me. I haven't. Julie, can you talk? I haven't had anybody close to me for months.
I think I might have to call the dentist. Right away.
I think we're dating.
Someone that close to me. I haven't done this, but I mean, I saw that my dry cleaner was open. I mean, I have no clothes to give her because who's been wearing anything, really. But I was happy that she was open. I'm happy.
Yes, it's a good sign.
It's a good sign. Now, we do want to bring in our wonderful tech director, who's been literally trying to tech my whole microphone situation. The wonderful, the talented, the fabulous Ruby. Ruby, where are you, darling?
Hello.
There she is.
God, Ruby, did we just almost miss the show because
I know. I'm gonna read if anybody's helping.
Yeah, let's see if anyone's helping. But
You
Ruby,
talk.
Ruby, you mentioned last week that you're going to have a birthday. What are you going to be? 20, 21?
21. Yes, I am. I am the baby of literally everyone that I know. But I think my friends and family.
Okay, should I mention that?
Well, my friends and family are really excited because it means I'm one step closer to 30, which is the age I've truly been since I was born.
Okay, 21
That's true.
Is not one step closer to 30. It really isn't. But now, Ruby, what are you going to do on your birthday?
Well, I'm working on my birthday, which I feel incredibly lucky to say, given these crazy times and circumstances. So I'll be prepping pretty much all morning for Pajama Cast Party later that night with Jim. And I'm actually going to be singing on it that night too. So I'm very, very excited. It'll be a fun way to celebrate my birthday. I'm kind of, I feel like unlike most people who are about to turn 21, I don't drink. I don't really go out and party. I love, kind of working and being productive. So that's how I'm going to spend my day.
Well, that is amazing. And we love watching Jim. Don't we love watching her achieve her goals and exceed them? And I have to tell you, Ruby, people really enjoy watching you. They really do. They've written in and said that. And, you're so young and talented and popular. And goodbye, Ruby.
Bye.
Bye.
Enough of that.
Talented and popular. I hate her. We might have to fire her. She's too
You love her. Can you imagine being 20? Julie, what were you doing at 20?
I was getting married, believe it or not. I was a child bride. I was getting married to my first husband. Yeah. That's how I got the name Halston.
It's a good name.
It's a great name.
You got a good name out of it.
But I got the name and I kept it. But yeah, that's what I was doing. I was getting married. That's nuts. That's crazy.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I know. But anyway, Jim, I love to start the show with an affirmation or a devotional. And, given what's been going on in the world today, I really didn't want to do something campy and ironic. I wanted to do something very sort of profound and truthful. And I've been listening to so many speakers regarding the Black Lives Matter movement. And it reminded me of this fantastic quote from Maya Angelou, who happens to be one of my favorite poets and writers. Such a fierce, amazing woman. And I love this quote. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Now, isn't that the truth? How you made them feel. And whether it's positive or negative, how you feel is going to be something you're going to carry with you for so long, and it just, I just love that quote. And I just thought, today, let's do something kind of truthful and profound. And what we try to do in this show is make people feel better. And you know what I mean? We have real conversation, but we want you to feel better. We want you to feel maybe a little more light, And why are we doing this? Well, we're doing this to make you feel better, but also to raise money for my wonderful charity, the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, which was the disease my husband ultimately did pass away from. And there we have it. Please feel free to tip us. Yes. PayPal, Julie Halston via Venmo or PayPal. I hope you're enjoying the show. I hope you can hear me. And not with crazy reverb, but that's why we're doing this. We want people to feel better. We want people to feel better. So anyway, you were talking about going to the dentist. Now, I have not had my regular beauty routines in the last, couple of months. Let's just say it. And I really feel like Ava Gardner in Night of the Iguana. Do you know this scene? It's really quite an extraordinary scene.
I love this scene.
Yeah, it's really quite something. Ruby, can you bring that up? It's Ava Gardner in Night of the Iguana.
Well, I'm a young woman. I'm attractive, too, if I can get to a decent beauty parlor. Don't you worry about the winter flop. She'll have a ball.
Well, that's me.
It looks like an outtake. It seems like an outtake, doesn't it? Like she can't get the door open. The thing falls off the wall.
It's like a blooper. And talk about the fact that there's so much overacting in that 30 seconds. It's like, Ava, what? How did the director, did he just say, have a breakdown? I don't know. It's just crazy. And you're right. It's like a blooper. It's like she can't gerrymander or jimmy it or what. It was so crazy. But that's how I've been feeling these last couple of months.
Julie, you look fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I actually have to say, I'm getting my roots drawn professionally Monday, because I did them, and I thought I did a great job. But when I did see in the back, I took a mirror, and I have about 5 different colors going on. It's really like a Crayola,
The
like
L'Oreal color chart.
It's a color chart. It's a color chart. And
Nice.
Not a good one. Colors that were
Pantone.
rejected. Colors that were rejected by the programmers.
By
Yeah.
Pantone.
They were rejected as too artificial. That's what the back of my hair looks like. Yeah.
But we don't see that. We don't see that. So that's the
Well, there you go.
that's the good news.
That's the good news. And then at the end of this month, I'm having some Botox because, because I have to. I'm a deeply shallow person, and people who know me know that. But I can say this: when I feel better about my appearance, I think I'm a kinder person. Do you find that?
Oh, of course. If I feel like I'm putting my best foot forward, I'm
Yes.
probably more open to people. Or if my skin looks better than normal, I feel certainly more open to friends, to making friends, to meeting new people.
Yes. You feel like it's really a thoughtful thing. If people really saw my roots or without my Botox, they think I was, I don't know, I'm like Olympia Dukakis' very unfortunate cousin. It's just, it's not good.
Cousin? Did you say her cousin?
Yeah, I somehow just came out with that. I don't know. Not her sister.
No,
her cousin.
Her cousin.
It's an unfortunate cousin. It's actually a thoughtful gift to the world when I, make up and whatnot.
Well,
Now,
the world thanks you.
Yeah, there you go. Now, last week, and you brought this up, you mentioned that Charles Bush actually said that this show is making me the Virginia Graham of the pandemic. And now we know who Virginia Graham is, but I'm sure there are people out there who go, "What? Who are they talking about?" So I think you need to tell people who Virginia Graham was.
First of all, I think if anybody's watching Virtually Halston, they know who Virginia Graham is.
Well, okay.
But let's say they don't. I did a little deep dive into Virginia,
Okay.
if you know what I mean. Virginia Graham had a talk show from the mid 50s to the mid 70s. Now, she was from Chicago, or Midwest originally, and she came from a very wealthy family, which I love.
Family.
They were in the department store business, so she always had everything she wanted. She went to private schools and studied anthropology.
Anthropology. Okay.
Because that's evidently what you do to become a talk show host. She had she had many series, started on the radio and then television series. The one that I remember was called Girl Talk.
I loved it. And I was a little girl, but my mother always had it on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she was cool and she was great looking. Somebody said she looked like Sophie Tucker doing Carol Channing in drag.
Can we bring her up? I
Oh,
think
yeah. Yeah. Ruby has a picture.
Ruby has a picture of her, I believe.
Oh.
There it is. Oh, my God.
Come on.
Virginia, first of all, now I was talking about the colors in my hair.
Right.
Can we just discuss how many colors? And
yeah.
wait,
it's like plaid. It's like Lee press-on hair. Just
it really is
unbelievable.
It's like someone said, "Let's do her hair," and it's the beginning of autumn.
Exactly. What did she use for that? Rubber cement? What is in there?
I can't get over it. It's gobsmacking, but it's fantastic. And she had this very successful talk show from 1963 to 1969 called Girl Talk. And she would have guests on like Joan Rivers and Betsy Palmer. I don't know if people know who Betsy Palmer is, but I remember her. I must have been 6 or 7 years old, and I remember her telling one of her guests that she had to be more like a cupcake, and that if you behave a certain way, your husband will adore you even more, and you'll be the cherry on the top. Even me at 6 years old, an idiot for a child, I even knew that was a crazy thing to tell a human being. You'll be the cherry on the top.
We need to find her autobiography, which is called "There Goes What's Her Name." Maybe for your birthday.
Maybe for my birthday,
December 7th.
And we should ask Ruby, is anyone commenting about Virginia Graham? I don't know. I can't see anyone. Do they know? She has a croissant on her head. That's true. We have some audio of Virginia Graham.
Yeah. Oh, this is good.
And here she is. And talk about a blooper. This, I think, is a blooper. But can we play that, Ruby? I think you have it.
And now, Virginia Graham answers her mail.
Today's letter is from Miss C.S. And Mrs. C.S. has a problem with her husband. He hasn't been coming home at night and giving her the marital devotion that she feels is necessary. She has lived with him for several years, and she feels that this is an indication of perhaps a sterility or a desire to have love. Now listen, Mike Walsh, you have been doing this too long. I have got to explain to you, ladies and gentlemen, that he's an impossible person and has been making me laugh on the air, and I have promised that I wouldn't do it anymore.
Virginia,
so
dear,
yes,
I'll take care of it. We're going to take a cutaway now, and then we'll come back in just a moment.
No, I will continue. And I'll continue talking. Now, I'm very sorry. I think maybe we ought to go to music, and I'll come back and I'll do my spot later.
That makes me so happy. Well, the poor announcer's like, we'll be going to a station identification. Desperate to get out of there, he is.
See, oh my God, look, Jerry Webb, and I'm Jerry Webb in Chicago. I waited on Virginia Graham and served her lunch many years ago. To this day, I have never seen anyone with more lipstick on. And seriously, it didn't budge despite her full luncheon. Ahem. Amen. Oh my God, this is fantastic.
Fantastic. I love the marital devotion. What is that for a phrase? It's great.
And did you see that she had custom made bowling balls that were specially drilled to accommodate her long fingernails?
Oh, that's right. I remember that story.
Fantastic. Oh, I love this. I love that people are enjoying Virginia Graham and knowing who she was, and this is just fantastic. Well, and did you see that picture of her with Joan Crawford?
Uh-huh.
I mean, Joan looked like an anorexic, Joan looks anorexic, and she looks like an amateur next to Virginia. Virginia looks like she has a Mr. Softy, truck on her head.
It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
I mean, wouldn't you love to have been a fly on that wall?
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so delighted, and I'm so delighted. I hope you're enjoying this. And folks, don't forget why we're doing this. We're doing this to raise some money for Ruby and Jim and this whole platform, but also for the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation. Please feel free to be generous. One of the things that we're learning is, of course, with this whole COVID-19 is people with lung issues. And, pulmonary fibrosis is a terrible, fatal lung disease. And, people in the Broadway community have had this disease. My wonderful friend, Jennifer Robin Arnold, had pulmonary fibrosis, and she was a dresser at Phantom of the Opera, and she did develop COVID-19. And it's just, when you have an underlying condition like that, it just makes it so much harder to battle anything. So please feel free to be generous. And we are giving this money to patients and caregivers because they need it too. So thank you so much. Well, I have to say, Jim, I always wanted to be a talk show host and an advice columnist.
Oh.
Can you imagine if I was an advice columnist?
I don't know if that's the best plan.
It probably isn't, because I don't know if I'm really sympathetic enough to be, because I'm very, blunt. And I would probably be the kind of person who says things like, you need to fix your roots, or bleach your teeth. You'll feel better,
Tell the story. Tell the story.
I have a close encounter of the celebrity kind that I'd love to tell about just that topic. All right, there I am in a trailer. This is completely verbatim, folks, with Hugh Grant. We all know who Hugh Grant is. And there I was in a trailer with him. We were doing a movie together called Celebrity. And he said, oh, Julie, you have very beautiful teeth. And I said, well, thank you, Hugh. And I said, well, I bleach my teeth, And he said, oh, I hear that's very pricey. I hear that's very pricey. From Hugh Grant. I was like, it's a $30 kit. It's Crest White Strips and Dwayne Reed. Hugh Grant. I think you can afford it. Hugh Grant. I could not believe it. Oh, I heard it's very pricey.
Saving. He's saving his money.
Yeah, he's saving. Yeah, it was an indictment of the British dental system. That's what I say. The whole British dental system. I mean, they do have bad teeth, the Brits. Maybe not now, but I couldn't believe it. Hugh Grant. Anyway, I just thought that was just crazy. Now, is it time? Shall we bring on our guest?
He has very good teeth.
He has very good teeth. I just have to have a little bit more of my Prosecco. What is your beverage, by the way?
I'm drinking a Coca-Cola in a pajama cast party mug.
Okay. All right. I love it.
Because of course I am.
Yeah. Well, let me give the folks a little background. He's a Tony nominee from An American in Paris, which was so beautiful. I remember seeing that show. So beautiful. He's a cabaret and recording star. He, of course, plays Birdland, which is our favorite club. And he's a concert performer extraordinaire. And he's also a dear friend. And he's just one of I think one of the real luminaries of Broadway. Ladies and gentlemen, Max von Essen. Where are you, Max? Yay! There he is!
Hi, Maxie.
Hello.
Surprise.
Hi, everyone.
Are you having fun?
Yes, I'm following your lead. You inspired me to have some Prosecco.
Oh, that's great. Now,
Good.
Max, have you been enjoying the show? Did you know who Virginia Graham was? You couldn't have. You're too young.
No, that was a lesson for me. Thank you. But I was cackling.
Isn't it fun? And Ruby knows how to bring all these things in so beautifully.
Good.
Now, Jim has left us. He'll come back. He'll come back.
We don't need Jim.
We don't need Jim. Max, I became aware of you, I guess, with Dance of the Vampires. Is that how a lot of people got to know you?
Yes. I owe you a refund for the ticket price.
There we are. There it is. Dance of the Vampires. There's one of the many posters. There were lots of different posters, like from Germany and England. Yeah. It was maybe the craziest musical I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there was a song called Garlic, right? I mean,
yes. Oh,
yeah. What was your experience with the whole thing?
You know, for me, it was my first. I mean, I'd done one Broadway show in the ensemble, but it was my first starring role. Like I was of course, as Michael Crawford was the one billed and everything, but I was like the young lover, hero, leading man, juvenile. And it was a dream, like a total dream. Everything that went wrong, I was just like, whoop, doesn't matter. I think there's something about like your first experience or a dream coming true. Like, I mean, I dreamed my whole life of being on Broadway. So even as things fell apart around me, it was almost like I couldn't see it. And I just thought, you know what? We're not exactly going to get a rave, from Ben Brantley.
Right.
But we might have a real like cult following. This might be really hilarious and wild, and people might just come to see it over and over just because it's outrageous. And it was. But
it was outrageous. I loved seeing it. I remember sitting there, but I do remember my literally being slack-jawed. There's a cat in the background. Don't mind the cat.
I'll have one.
Except my cat is now flying around with look, the cat. Cat's out. It's a little scary. I remember being just my jaw dropping. The Garlic number alone, I think,
And that's what we should have used in our posters. Jaw dropping.
Yeah, jaw dropping.
A must see.
Yeah.
This cannot be missed.
It really was. It was amazing.
My dad, when things were crazy, my dad was like, hey, listen, anybody could be like in a normal show or like a boring show. Like you did it. You know what I mean? It's like any of that. Think of how many flops come and go that were just like totally unforgettable. Well, we were not unforgettable.
Exactly.
We did it. So
should we mention your dad is who your dad is? He was the fire commissioner during 9/11.
Yes, he was. He was a firefighter my whole childhood and then got very involved with the union and ultimately became fire commissioner of New York City and all through 9/11. And now he actually works for FEMA. So he's kind of still very involved. And it seems like he can't escape. Anytime he has a new job, he can't escape like such a real crisis and moment in our history. I feel bad for him. I was like, can't you just have a job where you just,
right.
Clock
9 to 5,
and relax. Yeah. But he's me, you know him. He's one of the greatest guys in the world. And we could spend a show just talking about him. It's amazing.
Well, but right now it's all about you. But I want to get a little serious for a second.
I don't mind mentioning him, but
no, exactly. A lot of people might not know this about you, but you were an economics major in college.
Yes, and it has really helped me with absolutely nothing in my career.
Well, but I want to ask you something because I'm following very closely what is going to be happening with the Black Lives Movement, Black Lives Matter movement, and one of the things that's really a part of this discussion is a dismantling of the system in general, because we're talking about systematic and institutional racism, and just in general, is there going to be, and certainly Bernie Sanders brought this up, the whole idea of socialism, because people talk about that, universal health care and whatnot, and a sort of, a discussion about capitalism. And I'm just wondering, were these the kind of things you discussed in your economics classes, or was it more nuts and bolts kind of?
It was all very dry and very numbers oriented. I was not. If we had talked more from like a human perspective like that, I think I would have been so much more interested. That what you just said to me now is so much more important and interesting than anything I ever learned in an economics course. I actually took a lot of African American studies courses in college. I could have had a minor because I was so into it and so fascinated. I felt like it was time as this white kid growing up on Long Island to learn about other people's experiences. We weren't taught about them properly. And a part of me almost gets mad at myself for like the fact that I found it fascinating, you know, and the fact that I sought it out. I mean, I'm glad I did, because it's important to learn about other people's experiences. But doesn't that just show you the framework is so off that we have to seek them out, or that, oh, look at me, I'm learning about their experience, when it should just be part of our life from day one. And
Yes.
I'm through this whole movement now. I'm actually really angry and disappointed in myself and our entire system that I just accepted it. I know I'm not an outwardly racist person and a violently racist person, but it's part of me and part of our world and I just got used to it in our industry. And I'm angry, and I'm excited to start and make the changes, you know, like you're talking about.
Yes. I was thinking about this in terms of my high school, and I went to a very progressive high school. Very progressive.
Good. Yeah.
I think we had 2 African American students.
Oh.
And then by the time I left, I think we had 4.
When I was growing up, I noticed when I was growing up in elementary school, and I didn't really realize, but I was aware that every class had 1 black girl and 1 black boy. And they all lived in the same area of town, but they were equally bused to every elementary school. And I didn't know why, but it was something in my head. And years ago, I started thinking about that, and I said, wow, I don't understand. I started researching my town, and I started uncovering cases against the school district and in real estate practices. And my town was under an integration order, like an actual desegregation order by I don't know, by the county or the state, but there were actual cases against them. And I didn't know that, but like no matter what you say, like that had to have an effect on me without even realizing.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, so I'm finding out more about my town that I loved, and I had incredible schools and teachers, and it was just idyllic, but we had
not idyllic. That's
right.
We're finding out. Not idyllic.
Right.
Yeah.
We got to go back a lot of steps so that 10 years, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, Broadway can look different. You know, it's hard to change it right now if we're not encouraging children and giving them opportunities and scholarships. And it's overwhelming, but it's also exciting, and it's up to us and non-people of color to really like do the work now.
It's up to everyone. It's up to everyone. Well, now let's go back for a minute, because I'm glad we had this conversation, because I'm so fascinated by the fact that you studied economics. But as we do know, you did become a Broadway star, and you're a Tony nominee for American in Paris. I think we have a beautiful little picture of you in this show, because I want to ask you about you had to tap dance in this show. There you are. Look at that.
I mean, MGM.
Look at that.
Dream.
Oh. But you were not a tap dancer.
Julie, I had never even touched a pair of tap shoes, like, in my life. And one of my first auditions was going so great. They were like, Max, how's your tap? And I was like, good night. Me. Months later, they agreed to see me again. Thank God. They must have had maybe trouble finding the right person for the role. And I guess they were willing to see people who couldn't tap.
Right.
And thank God they did, because I mean, I think I brought enough to the acting and the singing that they were willing to say, hey, okay, we wanted him to be a world-class tapper, but we're not going to get that. So let's have everyone dance around him with feathers and top hats, and let's just have Max stand there and sing and do a couple of steps. And thank God they let go of that thought, because it was the highlight of my life, let alone career. You know, to me, it's everything that led up to American in Paris, and now the things that are coming after, which have been amazing. But it literally was that moment for me so far.
Oh, it was fantastic. And you coming down those stairs, I mean, so beautiful. I mean, I've been having people dance around me for years, and with more than feathers.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know how to do it, you know.
We know how to do it. And I have a lot of art. I'm very good with arms, you see, because I have long arms. So when you have long arms, you can get away with a lot.
Yes, looks,
Yes,
gesture.
gesture. Oh my God. Well, now
a cane and a top hat.
That's right. Now, all right. So there we were applauding you for your Tony-nominated performance of American in Paris, which was so beautiful. But then you also did a show, and I remember my late husband Ralph talking about it. He went to see it. He loved it. Called Hello Again at the Transport Group.
Yes.
And now I want to know, because I remember him talking about nudity. Now, because I didn't realize there would be nudity in the show. Were you one of the nudity people?
Oh, I mean, I think almost everyone had some moment, but I was, yes. I was
really
in my underwear having sex with Elizabeth Stanley. I was pantless having sex with Anika Lanzaroni. It was really wild. And the Transport Group, of people who don't know, it's sort of like unique to different sites, their theater.
Yes.
So we were in this old loft in Soho that was kind of transformed into an old ballroom, and people were at large tables, and we would perform in between the tables. We'd jump onto the table. So there'd literally be people sitting like this while I'm simulating sex with my butt out with Elizabeth Stanley.
See, now that I know this,
crazy.
I would have really gotten a ticket.
It was real. I mean, the cast was out of this world, like Alan Campbell, Rachel Bay Jones.
Yeah.
Elizabeth Stanley. It was just
sexy, beautiful, talented, alluring people.
Oh, so good. You felt like you were really doing theater. We were making about $4 a week, but we were artists. Sometimes those are the most rewarding things, are the lowest paying, or not many people get to see it because there are only like 100 seats per night. But they're the moments that I'll never forget. I learned the most.
Absolutely. No, it got rave reviews. And if you like nudity, please feel free to tip us. And for Venmo and PayPal, Ruby, there you go. That's for nudity. Well, that's fantastic. Now, let's just say it, Max. You and I really got close when we did Murder on the Orient Express. That is, yes, there we are. Yeah, we were dying to get out of there. We were just dying to get out of there.
Oh, I love that picture.
Look at you say, help! Oh my God.
Julie, you were the worst. You were the worst influence on me of almost anyone I've ever worked with professionally. I used to imagine during some of our scenes that Kate Shindle, the president of Equity, was going to come running down the aisle, like with a flashlight, walk up to you on stage and demand your Equity card. Like, that's what I literally thought was going to happen. I kept imagining like, and here she comes with like a cap on and a flashlight and grabs us backstage and kicks us out of it.
I know, but it really, first of all, for those of you don't know, it's an adaptation that Ken Loach did of the classic Agatha Christie story.
Yeah,
it's
so
an
good.
amazing story. Yes, feel free to have an adult beverage while we discuss Murder on the Orient Express. And do you remember at one point they couldn't fit the Orient Express in the theater? They were like cutting the cars, and the set was being chopped up or something, and oh my God, and there was all sorts of crazy costume changes. Oh my God.
But speaking of the costumes, William Ivy Long, so gorgeous. I mean, the show looked incredible. It was really, we did a good job.
We did a great job, and people loved it.
Oh, yeah.
People did love it. But it was changing every day. It was almost like working on a soap opera. Because remember, you would sort of come in and do the changes. And then there was lots of, because, I'm about as method actress as, as my cell phone. My idea of method acting is just put the wig on and I'll say a line.
We went to the same we went to the same program.
Yeah, we went to the same. But then there was a lot of discussion about like what the motivation of the characters, and then we would all go off and talk about our characters, and then talk about the murder itself and how we felt about the murder. And I was like, I just want a paycheck and let's just do the damn thing. I don't understand
my question is usually, when do I get my wig? Or do I have an accent? Do I have an accent or a limp?
Exactly.
Okay, then places.
Curtain. You know what? My whole thing is, do I wear a hat or not?
I mean, honestly, that's when the character's there. Once I'm in the costume, wig.
Yeah. No, it was cuckoo. It was.
Oh
cuckoo.
yeah, weird. So didn't it feel like? Isn't it weird to almost think now that it was a play? Like it felt like a musical, didn't it? Like it's weird. There were so many great musical theater actors in the show, like Alexandra Silber and Vianne Cox, and yet it was a play. But it really had that feel. It was so kind of like dramatic and over the top. And oh man, we had a blast. And really, honestly, like all joking aside, it really meant a lot that they gave me that chance, because I really don't do plays. I rarely have an opportunity to do plays, and so I felt pretty fancy. Doing
it was fancy, and we had so much fun, and we also formed so many great relationships, and it was wonderful.
Yes.
It really was, and I'm delighted, and hopefully, listen, it's a great idea. I mean, it really is a great idea.
Oh, fantastic. Isn't it probably being done? I mean, obviously not at the moment because things are, on hold, but I think it's being done all over the place.
I think it is.
The country.
Yeah.
Not with us,
I think it is. Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, us. Yeah, not us. We've been replaced, Max.
Yeah.
We've been replaced. So now, let me ask you this. What were you doing? Because I know you went away at one point during the pandemic, which is still on. You went to where? Where'd you go? And why?
I went to my sister's place in Kansas. She moved out to Kansas years ago because her husband, who she met in college, is originally from Kansas. So they kind of both got great jobs and settled out there. And they're so cool. They've had this dream of like having a farm and property, and they just like every couple of years they buy more property, they plan out the barn, the farmhouse, and they have created this world out there that is so incredible. And I've visited before, but because of everything that's going on, I was able to just go, and I just said, well, let's see how long we're gonna stay here. And I stayed for 3 weeks. I got tested and then just drove straight through for 20 hours. And honestly, I mean, we're here to have fun, but I tell you, it saved me. And I'm so grateful that I had a place to go, because not everyone does. And things here in Midtown, and it's been a ghost town, the theater district, it's been very depressing. And the fact that I had that place to go and be with family and spend a lot of time outside and socially distancing and having barbecues, it totally restored me. I feel like I can handle what's in front of us with the rest of the time with the pandemic, and now handle what's happened as well with the unbelievable civil unrest. Like I'm just so grateful that I had that break, because I feel recharged that I can. There's a lot going on in the world, so if you're not feeling okay, it's for a lot of people, it'd be hard to just get out of bed in the morning. So I'm thankful that I'm feeling a little bit restored to handle what we've got.
What is a very, very difficult time, and a very historic and unprecedented. So yes. Well, that's good to know. So Kansas is a place.
Yeah,
Kansas is a place to go.
My brother-in-law is a plastic surgeon.
Oh, okay.
He's a lawyer. So
I like that.
we could schedule a long weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say. Well, at end of June, I'm getting these lines are going to be gone. Right now, they're gone through the lighting, but they'll be gone for good very soon.
Good for you. Go get it and feel good.
Oh, absolutely. I want to remind people that we love when you bring in readings for me or videos or whatever. Ruby, can you just put my email address? There we have it. JulielleHalston@gmail.com. Please feel free to send me if you want me to read something, or because people are sending me articles and whatnot, and it's really fun.
Oh, good. It's great.
And I love to read things. So anyway, and of course, feel free again to tip us if you're enjoying the show. Venmo and PayPal. I have to tell you, I'm very, very moved. These last 3 episodes, people have been so generous, Max. It's helped pay for this platform, and also I have been able to send a really nice big check to the Pulmonary Fibrosis Foundation, and it just has made a world of difference. So thank you, all of you.
People are incredible.
Max Gunnison.
Yes.
Not only are you a cabaret and recording star and a Broadway star, you're also a concert performer. And let's bring Jim back because we all went to this concert that you did. Jim!
Hi.
Jim, what have you been doing? Did you just leave? Did you just?
Yeah. Had a cigarette.
Yeah.
No, I listened to every word. You guys are so fun together and so interesting and informative and smart. And it's like you're smart people.
Oh, okay. I like that.
We're fooling you. We're
It's
fooling
like
everyone.
that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Max, I will never forget you saying, does it have an accent or a limp? That's good.
But I tell all my students, if you get into previews and you don't have a character yet, just, ask for an accent or a limp. Wig, a hat,
For me, it's about, do I have a hat or not?
Yes.
Because a hat can inform a lot. Anyone who wears a hat, there's something about that kind of person. I'm not wrong. Right? And a limp really informs. I mean, that's a whole backstory. How did you get the limp? Why do you still
I
have
can
the limp?
smell the award season.
Exactly.
Smell the awards.
That's not what you smell, Max.
Oh.
Well, now listen, Jim, you and I were there at the New York.
Oh, that was one of the greatest nights. Max, I've told you about this. I sat there with our friend Nick Adams and we boo-hooed. I've seen a bunch of shows at Carnegie Hall and a lot of New York Pops shows, which that was. It was Max with the New York Pops. It was thrilling. We cried, we wept.
I did too.
I'm telling you, because I'm very judgmental, as you know. And all the people that other people think are talented, I go, really? Are they? Are they really? Do you know? I mean, oh no, I'm tough. I'm really tough. I go, well, she's good. I don't think she's great. And everyone always says, oh, Halston, you're too judgmental. Max von Essen, that was great.
Thank
So
you. Thanks for being there.
I think we have a picture of it. Wait.
Let's see it. Ruby.
Let's see. Come
on.
Oh, look at that.
And the best, oh my God, the suits alone.
Yeah.
I would have paid just to see the suits.
Yeah.
Look half the performance. I tell you, it's half the performance.
Oh,
well, you and I agree with that. We love a tailored suit.
Yeah. Also, it's Carnegie Hall. I mean, if you're not thinking about all of that, and it's all part of it. By the way, those were Richard Termine who took those pictures. He's awesome. He's taking pictures of me in a lot of Broadway shows. And the one for American in Paris was Matthew Murphy. I always love shouting them out because they're good pictures for a reason. They were great. But that night was unforgettable. I'm so thankful too, because so many people are not having moments like lifetime dream moments because of this, what we're going through. And that was the end of January. And I just feel so lucky that it happened, right?
Yes.
Because it will go down as, like I said about American in Paris, I said it wasn't just one of the greatest experiences of my career. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. And that night at Carnegie Hall was one of the greatest nights of my life. To look out and see all my good friends, to see my parents who gave so much and drove me to all the lessons. And now here I am on this stage.
Your mother and I sat next to each other, and she did say one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. She said, "How are you doing?" Because she knew that she knows I'm a widow. And I said, "Well, I'm okay. I'm feeling a little more lighthearted." I said, I'm actually thinking, I might actually start thinking about like maybe going on a date. And she said, "Not here, dear. You're not going to find anyone here." Which was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And then we just wept the entire night.
Funny.
Oh no, she was like, "No, not here, Julie. You will not be finding someone here."
Well, Julie, I sent Ruby a photo that explains why.
There, okay.
Can you pull this up?
Oh no.
This. There. Julie Lynn, not here.
Yeah.
Not here, dear.
Court is adjourned.
Look at that. It's Hello, Dolly.
Yeah.
It's the way. It's right before the waiter's gallop. That picture makes me so happy, and you're all cute and beveled.
I'm ready for a date.
I mean, how lucky am I?
Splash.
All of you.
It's Splash. We're going to Splash. I mean, it's crazy. But wait, there's another photo of us, the three of us, I think. That
Oh, this is the best.
yes. That Ruby has. I think we gave it to her today.
Yeah, Ruby.
You know,
Do the
we,
production
on
values
trial,
ever-
Are we like the powerhouse attorneys, like coming out of a courtroom or something?
Yeah, pull it up again,
what's our
Ruby.
back-
let's pull it up again, Ruby.
I mean, I love that photo.
First of all, do the
great.
production values ever end on this show? I mean,
No.
honestly.
Ruby, boy, is she the greatest or what? Goodbye, Ruby. No, we love her to pieces. We can't do the show without her. But I think yes, what, Max?
No, I was gonna say, a couple of years ago, I was teaching this master class for young Broadway kids, and there was this one girl there who got up and sang this song, and she was like this singer-songwriter vibe. She was so polished and so good. I was like, what am I doing here? Like I'm teaching these kids. I'm supposed to give notes. I didn't know what to say to this girl. It was Ruby. It was Ruby.
It was literally Ruby?
Literally Ruby at like 17 years old. And I mean, just already so mature and polished and smart and
Ruby, come on.
controlled,
You
and
have to be here
singing.
for this.
Yeah, Ruby, come on.
There she is.
Oh my gosh,
It's true. Remember.
And I remember that day too because I was so excited and not nervous, but I was definitely just like really anxious, and I was so excited because I had seen you in American in Paris, and I was such a fan. And I remember just afterwards, I mean, I still remember that day, and I take it with me. It was the Broadway Artists Alliance, who I used to train with for literally like 11 years. I just aged out of it, and it was just the best day. And you're so kind. That literally just made my day just now.
Listen, to this day, performers, me, Julie, I'll say, we perform. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
it's very hard actually to just be and to just be you and in a room, because there's such pressure of like, well, I want this job, and you, that's something that's very hard to teach. And to have had it at that point. Well, this isn't the Ruby show. Get out of here, Ruby.
Okay,
You know what I'm saying?
Bye, Ruby.
But she
Bye,
has,
Ruby.
you know what she has is poise. She has poise.
Yes.
But you know what I love about that photo, besides the fact that it's very Law and Order, but for us it would be sort of like Palm Springs Law and Order. Do you know what I mean? Like not in New York, but sort of Palm Springs.
Yeah,
But
gay Law and Order.
gay Law and Order, yes, gay Law and Order goes to Flash.
Gay Lord.
Gay Law and Order. Gaydor. Guys, this has been so amazing. We're almost done with our show. Do you believe the hour went by so quickly, didn't it? I mean, it's really
Great.
When?
By the way, are there any comments that we're missing? I just want to make sure that, Todd Tullis is in love with you, Max von Essen.
Oh, well,
Todd Tullis is
great.
mine. Yes,
And me.
yes.
We actually did get a great comment earlier, and I didn't want to pull it up because it had already passed. But Max, somebody in the audience, let me pull it up. Hang on. Went to high school with your dad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Wow.
She's amazing. She's like every performance I have. She's amazing. She came to Carnegie Hall.
Oh. Well,
Sweet.
guys, if you're enjoying this show, please feel free. Again, I'm just going to say it one more time. And I also want to do a shout out to BT Whitehill, who created our wonderful graphics, and Sam Rudy, who gives us more and more publicity. I just want to do a shout out to them. But again, feel free to tip us, Venmo, PayPal. You've been so generous in the past. Please feel free. There we go. But we're going to talk about Max von Essen. We do have to talk about that glorious voice. And we're just wondering if you could kind of sing us out. Would you sing us out with something beautiful, something during these crazy times?
Yeah, sure. Let me see. First of all, to clear my throat.
Okay.
Okay, I'll do a little verse of something. Hang on, I gotta go get the key, or else I'll really be angry at myself.
Oh, okay. All right. The key. You know, people say that to me when I do musicals. I go, what key are you, Julie? I go,
I'm telling you, I could really screw up when. Okay, here's a little verse of something that's been giving me inspiration lately.
Okay.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high, and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm is a golden sky, and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
What more is there to say? Really, that was glorious.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much, Max.
Perfect.
Of course.
That really is the perfect way to end this show. This really was one of the best. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I love you guys.
We love you. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone, and thank you. We'll see you next week where we have Santino Fontana. Love you, Max. There we are. There's our show.
What more is there to say?